Afternoon, the leaders of the world's largest economies are meeting at the moment in Washington to talk about the global financial crisis. President Bush said there had been frank discussions, while Gordon Brown has urged governments to work together to rebuild confidence. Here, the Shadow Chancellor George Osborne has come in for sharp criticism from Labour for accusing the government of risking a run on the pound. From Washington, our political editor Nick Robinson reports.
Adrian, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
They've come from every corner of the world. Presidents, prime ministers and a king. Representatives of the world's 20 leading economies. Their aim, easy to sum up, but mighty hard to achieve. To save the global economy from collapse. Oh, and whilst they're at it, to reform the financial system so the crisis can't be repeated. They've just 4 hours of talks to get agreement in a summit venue so vast the participants must strain to even see each other.
When people are worried and there are fears and there are insecurities, it's up to us. And that's what I told the leaders last night. It's up to us to build confidence in the world economy by taking all the actions that are necessary.
Difficult is the word Gordon Brown chose to describe these talks. He wants governments to agree to an economic stimulus, cutting interest rates and taxes and raising spending, a timetable to reform financial institutions to oversee the banks and the hedge funds, a resumption of world trade talks, and the strengthening of the IMF and World Bank so they can protect the weaker economies. There is one crucial player who isn't there, but who today lent his support.
I'm glad President Bush has initiated this process, because our global economic crisis requires a coordinated global response.
A starker message, though, came from the Shadow Chancellor George Osborne, who issued this warning in this morning's Times. We're in danger, he said, of having a proper sterling collapse, a run on the pound. The thinking behind that warning is that the markets may punish Britain for borrowing record amounts. In other words, a short-term economic boost could drive up long-term interest rates.
I now regret the partisan talk from the opposition. But look, when other countries are coming together and working together for a common purpose, I think it is the duty of politicians to show responsibility and to show leadership.
The Prime Minister has warned other leaders here that they simply must not fail, reminding them of a summit held in London in 1933, which did nothing to prevent the Great Depression. The Tories' reply is the choice is not between doing something and doing nothing. It's between doing what's right and what is wrong.
Let's get the very latest from Nick, who joins us now live from Washington. As far as the talks are concerned, Nick, how much common ground is emerging?
Well, there's undoubtedly going to be an agreement. Officials hammered out 50 points before the leaders even left their home cities. The question, though, is the language and the extent of the commitment. Will there really be cross-border commitment to have these sorts of economic stimuluses, even in countries outside Europe and the United States? Will there really be a commitment to reopen and to reach a conclusion on world trade? Rather like beauty agreements, and whether they're good or not is in the eye of the beholder. Take one example here in the United States. They talk of bailing out the car industry here as an economic stimulus. Other people, including our own Prime Minister, regard that as protectionism which will damage us all.
What do you make of the timing of George Osborne's comments?
Well, it certainly opens the Shadow Chancellor up to the charge that he's talking down the economy at the time the Prime Minister is trying to boost it abroad. Now, he would say, if you look at the substance, of course, that is what really matters, that what he was trying to do is point out that the pound has already slumped against the dollar by a quarter since the summer, and if the markets lose confidence in the way that Britain is handling its economy, and in particular about the way the government handles the public finances, that could get worse, and that would lead to an increase in long-term interest rates. Labour are delighted at this. They think it shows misjudgment. But one source behind the scenes admitted to me there is a balance of risk between doing nothing and doing what might scare the markets.
Okay, Nick, in Washington for now. Thank you. Now here, after days of criticism and questioning over the death of baby P, more than 60 head teachers from Haringey